And without further ado, allow me to introduce Black Rabbit, and please welcome Jude Law and Jason Bateman to the stage.
Hello. Thanks, Jeff.
Hello. Thank you guys for coming. Should I just start talking? Yeah. Jude and I are very, very excited. You guys are the first group that gets to see this thing. And, you know, there's a big, huge contribution by everybody in this thing. So I'm so excited that people finally get to see all the good work from all the good folks in front of and behind the camera. Thank you to the folks that are here that were behind the camera and in front of the camera. I want to thank Cameron Bailey for having us at the festival, and Jeff as well. I want to thank specifically my wife Amanda and my two daughters Franny and Maple for coming to this and supporting me and being patient with me flying back and forth for 9 months when we made this.
Our brothers and sisters at Netflix.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
Great support. From
Everyone in every department, in every way, really, we felt your support and we really, really, really appreciated it. And it's just remarkable. We were here, this time last year, I was here and I flew home late on the Sunday to get on set on time for my director. And I can't believe we're finally here showing it to you all.
This is what happens.
It's
the
really
baby comes
exciting.
out eventually.
This is the birth. And you're all welcome.
So we will visit afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know when you guys are going to pee. I'm so sorry.
It's not all 8, by the way.
No, just 2. So it'll be 2 hours, and then we'll chat. All right.
Okay.
Enjoy, everyone. You know what? My first question is actually going to be for the audience. Who wants to see more?
Well, who wants to pee? Right? No, I do. We'll keep it short.
I had a question for Zach and Kay first. What is it like seeing this series on a big screen and with an audience?
I mean, it's pretty special. Thank you all for being here. Jason did something amazing that when we were in production, which almost never happens, we screened like an early cut of one for the whole crew. So we actually got to see one time on a big screen. It was very early on, but it was kind of amazing to have this experience where like the whole team of everyone working on it got to share that and also got to see sort of what we were all doing. And I think it was like a pretty amazing, it was a real gift to the whole production.
So important because crew never gets to see really what they're doing while they're doing it. They usually have to wait until like right about now. You know, but it's nice when you're doing great stuff, and I knew they were, to be able to see that and know that you're not just kind of coming in every day, maybe doing a piece of crap. You know, you don't know until it all start to get put together.
And Kate, how did this idea first come about in terms of the story, and when did you start working on it?
It started about, I mean, the original idea, it's been a long time, but with this group, maybe about 3 years. Zach and I had lived in New York for a really long time and loved sort of restaurant and bar culture and kind of got interested in the idea of sort of what you see there not being really what's going on behind the scenes. There was a number of sort of scandalous things that happened in restaurants that we went to when we were there, true stories about places that had sort of a darker underbelly than we might have known. And so we got really fascinated with this sort of show that people put on during the night when they're presenting their best face, and then kind of the what it looks like when all the lights get turned on. And then we knew we both have siblings, and we knew we wanted to make a story about what it's like to have a sibling and what that relationship is like, and kind of the ambition and history and with your sibling, and kind of how that changes you and makes you clouds your decisions at times.
And how did Jude and Jason get involved?
We loved both of them, and we started talking to both of them about it. We made a movie with Jude last year that was here, the movie The Order. Thank you.
in this cinema, right?
Yeah,
Jude?
we played it here. So I'll let Jude talk about that too, but we started having conversations with Jude about Jake and the world of this, and then we were huge fans of Jason's, obviously as an actor, but as a director too. So it was sort of a dream shot to try to see if he would direct, and so they kind of began that way. It was it happened pretty quick. It feels like that it all came together. So.
And Jason, I feel like we're seeing a version of you as Vince in this that your character in Ozark would just consider a complete liability in every way. What drew you to Vince?
Well, yeah, getting to play the guy that I don't usually get to play, and fortunately, Jude and Zach and Kate were equally excited about that notion, and. Getting to play opposite Jude, Jude and I had never met, and I'm so starstruck sitting next to him after watching that. He's so great in this, isn't he? Truly. I just knew that he seemed like a great guy when you watch him on stuff, and then as we started Zooming and emailing, and we really didn't meet face to face until about a week before we started shooting, right? We had dinner in New York. It's just easy all the way through. I mean, they did the hard part, writing all the stuff down, filling blank pages with compelling stuff like that and great dialogue. And then we just had to not be fake,
And Jude, knowing your experience last year with The Order and, jumping into a project again with these incredible creators, what excited you most about the project?
Most, firstly, you have a positive experience, creative experience that's collaborative and fun, and you get on with the people. You want to repeat that, and that doesn't always happen. And this also felt so different from The Order, and was just rich with potential. I knew the bars that they were referring to. And I remember living in or visiting New York in the late 90s and early millennium when, those sort of bars were really like fizzing. And I remember the dramas that they were talking about, the scandals that plagued them. And I just thought their curiosity in creating a very realistic group of people that were plugged into and coming out of that world of New York was really exciting. And at its heart, this fraternal bond breakdown, love story kind of tragedy is just, it was so clearly going to go somewhere extraordinary. And there was something great also in the character Jake. You'll see if you keep watching, he presents this front, and the problems go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then below that is their backstory, which you learn more and more about what happened to them, why they're bonded so tightly.
Kate, if it's clear that getting into you mentioned you have a sibling, getting into the business like the restaurant business with your sibling doesn't seem like a good idea. If you were to get into the restaurant business with one of these three guys, who would you choose and why?
You don't have to be delicate. I know it's not me.
Well, Zach and I are married, so we have a number of projects together. So I would have to choose him.
Good choice.
No, I think that was like one of the most rewarding and certainly surprising parts of this is just how easy and how great it was to work as partners on this. I think we knew the story we were telling so well. We always knew kind of the tone that we wanted and the voice and the vision, and having the two of us aligned, and then working with Jason and Jude, and knowing that they kind of understood and liked what we were talking about and wanted to pursue that too. That we feel so lucky, and it's great to be collaborators, and we sometimes have to pull each other's hair out and fight over things, but we in the end we agreed on almost everything.
Almost.
Jude and Jason, you both have such a long history with TIFF. Jason with performances in Juno, and This Is Where I Leave You, and also directorial premieres like Bad Words and Family Fang, and then Jude, I think I Heart Huckabees and Don Hemingway, and The Third Day, which we were talking about backstage, which was in our pandemic years over digital. As we celebrate our 50th year, can you tell us about the importance of TIFF to you, and also just festivals in terms of celebrating content like this?
Well, firstly, Jeff, thank you for having us here and making us a part of this this part of the festival. And as we were saying backstage, what's so nice to bring projects to Toronto is there is a vibe and a feel, a warmth to this festival that is unlike other festivals. Not to disparage them at all, but you guys are uniquely wonderful, and you always feel great to bring something that you care deeply about and show it to people that are not only discerning but also very warm. So this was a really exciting day on the calendar that we were all looking forward to. I've got a lot of fond memories here for sure.
Same. Yeah, absolutely the same. I just repeat that. There's a very special combination of being a celebration of film in the festival sense and meeting, folks in passing usually who are within our industry, but then the celebration of film in a public sense, sharing it and seeing it being enjoyed and seeing the sort of buzz around town. I've been coming to Toronto since I remember I visited a girlfriend who was working here when I was 22, which is a long time ago. And I feel very, very close to this place because it's changed a lot. I mean, it has grown. I remember that drive in from the airport when it used to just be like greenery. And now slowly it's just like, oh man, this place has expanded, as has the festival. And so it's a real thrill to come back every year. And a perfect place to bring this. And yeah, thank you for having us.
I've got one last question, then I'm going to throw it to the audience, so think about your questions. My last question is, all of you on the stage wear multiple hats on this project, whether as writer, director, executive producer, star. Can you talk us through kind of, and this is for anyone really, the advantages of doing those things in terms of the control, but also some of the challenges that you might face on set?
I mean, I think the reality is that you're always doing multiple different parts of the creative process. Like even when you're just writing, there's also a producerial aspect of it. But I would say with this, I've thought a lot about this difference between doing something by committee and collaborating. And I think when there are a lot of people who have their heads in something, by committee would just be everybody eats hot dogs, so let's just give them hot dogs. And I think what we were able to do here was really collaborate and actually have things build into a unique way where we as writers could hand things off to Jason as a director, and it was going to improve and increase and grow in a way that we alone couldn't do. And same with Jude, is writing towards him as an actor, but then also him as a producer who was overseeing the whole story of his character and the whole world. I think it was to me, I saw it as it was like constant baton passing of something that we all cared about, and it kept growing.
Jason made a really great point when he introduced it. He talked about every element, and I hope, well, here's the funny thing. When the jobs are done as well as they are in this, you don't necessarily notice it. But the detail, the effort, and you were always so great, I think, at empowering people to go do their best work by letting them just do their work, if you see what I mean. If everyone's going in the same direction. And every department in this, we were so lucky to have just the best of the best, and they were really excelling. And when they're doing that, you really, as producers, are just encouraging. You're just there. It's like being a parent. You're just really encouraging everyone to keep going, right? Yeah. And what I love about that is that all of that just then feeds into the work I would do normally on my own as an actor, and instead you're doing it sort of together. Yeah. Is that true?
Yeah, what we had on this set, and it's a compliment to them, their leadership, and was creating an atmosphere where everybody felt like they had some buy-in, like it was, if it's your house, no one needs to tell you to put a coaster down. You just do it on your own, and so if people feel like they've got some ownership over the process, you end up giving a bit more into your contribution into the process than you normally would have just out of obligation. No one gets fired for giving 75%. That's kind of what most people do at work. But if you really love your job and you love where you work, you might give 100%. And what you've got here is everybody in every department giving 100%. And as Jude said, if you stay with it, like, this show just keeps coming, and it's so freaking great. I mean, what you guys were able to do with escalating these stories, and every department matching their escalations and their contributions too. I'm just so proud of what everyone did with this, and a lot of it has to do with the atmosphere on set, and that was just a great leadership team, allowing everybody to be their best.
And I've heard you have a good pitch in terms of convincing friends or people you've worked with to try directing. Laura Linney, I believe, directs episodes as well. Have you tried to convince Jude to direct?
Yeah, I come after him too. I've come after them as well. And my A-camera operator, Ben Semenoff, who's here tonight, he did episode 5 and 6. He did an incredible job. He and I have been working together for 15 years. People who have great taste and good set IQ make great directors. Directors sometimes don't make fantastic directors because they never work with other directors. Like people who spend a lot of time on sets with multiple directors can cherry pick from great directors and, avoid the mistakes of the not so good ones. So people like Jude, who have been on incredible sets working for incredible directors, should lend all that knowledge to a crew and provide great leadership. It's a fun job.
I'll bring it to TIFF.
Yeah, challenge made.
Challenge made, yeah.
I'm going to throw it to audience questions. I saw this hand first. I'll repeat the question as well.
Hi, Jude, Jason. I'd love to see your first scene together at the diner. When you first interact with each other, what were your thoughts on it as establishing your characters and your relationships when you first read the script, scene, and worked it on set?
So just so everyone heard that question, it was a question about the first diner scene when the two of them were in it together and the preparation for that scene.
For me, from memory, it was one of the first scenes I shot. It was certainly, I don't know if it was the first scene we shot together, but it was certainly one of them.
I think it was day 2.
Was it day 2? Yeah. It was all on the page. And we were still sort of not figuring each other out, but there's a certain amount of, you're still working out how one works in front of the camera, and so that, which I think helped the scene a lot. But honestly, a lot of it was on the page, and you kept it super simple, which I loved. We just got to sit there and just do it all day long.
Yeah, they wrote an incredibly great scene. You don't really get scenes that are 10 pages long often in television, and that's about what it was. And there's the other episodes too. There's great, nice, long scenes you can really dig in on. And I knew that Jude and I would work well together rhythmically, and that I, as an editor, would want to. I didn't edit, but overseeing the editing process. That you'd probably want to keep certain takes intact, and so I cross-covered it. Had his camera going at the same time my camera was going. So, in the event we wanted to overlap, there wouldn't be a problem with that. That his delivery of that line, I could use my response to that line in the same take, and not have to Frankenstein all that together, because we'd probably create a good intact version of the scene in each individual take. So. That was just, a great scene to establish these two characters together, beautifully written.
Other questions? I see a question in my sight line back here. Yes, you, sir. Yes.
I just want to ask Jason what it was like. I think your beard was real. My production, and why didn't you just go with makeup?
You're saying the beard looked real, and why did I do that? Why didn't I just go with a fake one?
Yeah, this is smart lesson you talked about,
Yeah, right, yeah. It probably would have been a better looking beard if it was a fake one. That's the best I could do. That's about 6 years of growth right there. This is 2 years. Yeah, I just figured this guy probably doesn't spend a lot of time in front of the mirror, so he doesn't bother shaving, and so I just didn't shave for, I don't know, probably about 9 months. Wasn't it, honey? Something like that. And same thing with the hair. Like, if you're going to have long hair, you're going to want to go in there and do some things to it. That was just a big, heavy, weight of, slop. Yeah, I using stuff that's glued on, and it sucks. It's itchy, and we shot this in the teeth of the summer, and that would have been even more uncomfortable, and it would have looked fake too a little bit. We're going for authenticity with this thing, and trying to keep all the edges on, and so just did it that way.
Who was more excited to see the beard go, you or your wife?
I was. She likes this look. That's why it's back a little bit.
Nice. I see a question right here. Yes. Yeah, there. Yeah.
As writers, actors, and directors, are there any fundamentally different between a movie versus an 8-hour series beyond the 6 hours?
So just so everyone heard the question, as creators, writers, directors, what is ostensibly different between the creation of a series and a film?
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, as a writer, we certainly looked at this as a long movie. I think that we understood what the ending was. We knew where we were trying to get to and where we saw this relationship go. And so I think in some ways that wasn't different, but I think one of the great advantages for us as writers on this particularly is that, we were able to see the world that Jason was establishing, and then we were able to also see the way Jason and Jude were inhabiting those characters. They really, obviously, you saw they really took them to life in a way that, even we hadn't quite envisioned how rich they would be and how complicated that relationship is. So we had the benefit of being able to write then towards that. We had most of the scripts were written when we started production, but then we went and did a lot of work to try and take advantage of what we saw, like on day 2 with that diner scene. That was incredibly inspiring to us, and then we were able to sort of say, this is actually where the heart of the show needs to be, these two, just going at it against each other, or in tandem with each other. And so we tried. That was a real luxury.
I think that about sums it up in a way from my point of view as well, that there aren't that many differences. This was the first time I worked on episodic television where production was in very clear tranches of 2 episodes, which meant even though we knew where we were going, we had the script, we weren't shooting like the last scene first, which you can sometimes do in a movie, which means you can't mess with the last scene because you've got to go back and, everything. You kind of got to be nailed down before you go into production on a film. Not always. You can change stuff to a degree. With this, it was wonderful. We were suddenly able to talk about stuff we were heading towards and tweak it a little and lean in. So same answer in a way.
We have time for one last question. I see a question here.
I have a question about how did you pick who was going to play, I'm going to use Jason's words, the scumbag. How did you pick which brother?
And they're both beautiful scumbags, aren't they?
Yeah, stay tuned. He's kind of scummy.
Choose which actor was going to play the scumbag, and did either one of you want to play the other?
Just so everyone here can hear the question, and I guess I'll use the exact wording. How did you decide who is playing the scumbag or the greater scumbag of the two?
Well, I just learned actually at TIFF that you guys were debating it between the two of you. Because for us, we always had Jude as Jake. Just when we talked about the project with him, he kind of knew the guys that we were loosely, roughly basing that character on, like the kind of people who ran these restaurants in New York. And Jude kind of tapped in immediately, and then we had loved the idea of Jason playing a kind of different character than a lot of people maybe associate him with, and other roles we had seen him in that where he played a darker character that we really liked. So that was our hope, but I've learned now that you guys were discussing it when you guys first talked. So
I just felt going to Jason to direct was the sort of initial aim. And when you do that, I always have an issue as a producer. Well, not always, but sometimes sort of saying, and I'm playing that part. I kind of feel like that needs to just be agreed upon with the director. And so that opened the door to, you know, do you want to be my brother? But which brother are you going to be? And but I think like Kate and Zach, I hoped it would be Vince, just because I wanted to see him play it. And, you know, he brings something that a lot of actors can't. He has a very natural likability and humor, a kind of wryness that makes you forgive this guy over and over again.
I feel guilty for not going to the balcony, so I'm going to give the balcony the last question.
Thanks so much. I'll yell as much as I can.
We can hear you good.
Awesome. Phenomenal production. You talked a little bit about the time period that it's inspired by and the people who run these restaurants, but are there any particular restaurants that remind you of Black Rabbit or were the muse for Black Rabbit?
Name the names, you mean?
That are no longer
He was
still
doing such
open.
a good job of dodging those.
It was an amalgamation of a
Yes.
number of restaurants. There were certainly places that we had been at in New York that, but honestly, I mean, there was amazing bars like Schiller's, which was a great bar, and that we spent a lot of time in New York that did not have a scandal. Yeah, as far as we know, there are great places like Minetta Tavern and Waverly Inn that had the kind of aesthetic that we were talking about, and the same, that kind of like a place that was both a gastropub with an incredible chef behind it, and then also the idea that the door of those places was incredibly exclusive and was like a melting pot for artists and creatives and all kinds of crazy people that you like. When we were living in that area, you know, that was it was a dream to try to get through that door, and so I think that a lot of that was part of it.
So my first question off the bat was to the audience. Do you want to see more? You all said yes. So you will be able to see more on September 18th. The series drops on Netflix.
Thanks, you guys, for coming out.
A big thank
you so
you to
much.
Kate, Zach, Jason, and Jude.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.